may shock you to know that understanding, stigma, and embarrassment are the main reasons why only 25% of Black people seek mental health treatment when needed. Hello, I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter, and today my presentation is called Breaking Barriers, Overcoming Emotional Tax and Thriving in Corporate Spaces. Today we'll be talking about what emotional tax is, the experiences that cause emotional tax and the effects of it, and I'll provide some solutions for you if you feel as if this is something that you're going through. First, what is emotional tax? And that normally happens in the Black population, especially those who are working in corporate environments. What emotional tax is that there is a heightened level of stress that comes from feeling the need to constantly guard against biases, manage perceptions, navigate microaggressions while striving to meet high expectations. And because this feels more prevalent in the Black communities, we'll talk about some of those reasons why. First, we have the series of what we call unspoken pressures. First of all, representing our race. When we think about when we're in the workplace, when we may be the only one that looks like us on our team, in our department, on a project, we may be one of the few leaders at a vice president level, at a senior leader level, at a CEO level. And it feels as if we're carrying the entire future of our race on our shoulders. Every move we make, we're being watched and judged. We feel as if the possibility that if we fail, there'll never be anyone else to come behind us because our actions have now threatened the future of the rest of our population there. And sometimes management makes mistakes. They may have let someone go before you that may have looked like you. And sometimes, again, they may penalize the next person coming in for fear of the same thing happening. Or sometimes they somewhat coddle that next employee because they're so afraid. They don't want that person to leave like the other one did. They were so good. This one's so good. What could we do? It's pressure because it might seem to your peers that there's a little bit of favoritism there. The second is managing microaggressions because that is very prominent in workplaces. And we call it microaggressions because it's very subtle. Sometimes you're not quite sure if something's being said because they're being mean or they just don't know. They haven't asked the right questions. So what we do, we have to manage our sensitivity to determine, okay, we'll accept what they said, or might we need to address what they said? And that's pressure thinking about how to do that, especially if it may be a leader that's higher up than you in the organization. The other is competence, proving competence. And there's competence at work. Often we have imposter syndrome. We are not quite sure how we got to where we were. Maybe we think it's luck, right place, right time, but realistically, we have earned the right to be there. But in our mind, we're thinking we don't belong there. So we are challenging ourselves to make sure everybody else understands why we're there. And along with that, there are always these areas of barriers. The first one being at the individual contributor level, which is called broken rungs, where trying to get to that first managerial level seems to be very difficult. The other is what we call glass ceiling, where we feel as if there is a cap. We can see through the glass. We see things happening up through there, but we can't get there. We also have what's called a concrete ceiling, where ultimately you have no idea what's going on at any high level above you, and no one is even sharing with you what opportunities arise there if you make it there. And the last one is called a glass cliff assignment. That specifically, statistics have shown, is when a Black leader is given a role where they're probably more likely to fail than not. They are already walking into an essence of doom and destruction. They don't get the support, they don't get the resources or the people. And then when it does fail, leadership says, oh, we knew they couldn't do it because they had set them up to fail. The other part of the competence is to our families. When we think about generations, we may have been the first one to graduate college, the first one to get an advanced degree, the first one to make six figures. And often we are ensuring that we don't fail our family. We're thinking about what our parents went through, what our grandparents went through. We don't want to have to go through that same type of struggle. So we're really going out of our way, trying to do the right things in the office, exceeding expectations. And that's stressful. And you might even be part of a single family household where you are the one bringing in the money. That stress of what if you lose your job? What if something happens? What if they downsize? Where will we live? How will we survive? That's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. And that's the essence of emotional tax. And what that does to us, it depletes everything, our energy, our well-being. We start to lose our engagement at work. Everything seems as if, again, we're carrying this big weight on our shoulders. And what goes along with that is that we are always needing to be, say here, on guard, because we're trying to guard against all of the enemies. We're trying to guard against possible racism, possible microaggressions, possible everything. We're trying to be cautious in what we say and how we say it. We don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to have, our voice be too deep or too high, that for some reason that puts other people off. What goes along with that is we can't sleep because we are constantly having our brain going, thinking about what happened today. What did someone say? Should I look into it? Should I forget about it? Was it right? Was it wrong? How will I address it? If I say something, will I get fired? And you have headaches. You wake up with them, you go to sleep with them, they don't go away no matter how many aspirin you take. And the last is the reduced sense of psychological safety. And that is another area that is being more focused on in the workplace. People want to be able to come to work, first of all, and be themselves. They don't want to have to worry about who to trust, who not to trust, who's going to take their work, who's going to take credit for their work, who is trying to undermine what I am trying to do and my own career journey. Because a lot of times what we'll hear in that same space is when we're talking about what's going on and that we don't feel safe, then we're being challenged and we're told, oh, that's just how they are. That's how it works here. But that's not right. And again, we start to feel some kind of way in that we need to speak up. Do we want to speak up? What does that mean? And we suddenly start to not want to go to work. We suddenly start to not want to contribute as fully as we used to. So what do we do about it? And let me say hi to you. I'm calling myself, in this instance, your emotional tax navigator, because I have been through all of what we've just described. I had a job. I fought my way to get promoted. It was the individual contributor role to that first line, first level leader. And they made me jump through some hoops that of course you think is okay because you're young and you're full of energy that I can do this. I know they'll see me, I'm visible, they understand me, now they promote me, they'll respect me, but no. I had a feeling over time that something wasn't right. And I felt as if I hadn't earned my way to that promotion. So now I'm working to continuously prove that I'm competent in the role. And I was waking up with a headache, going to bed with a headache, taking aspirin, going to the doctor, and they said it was stress. And what do you do about that? When we move higher up in the organization, same thing. They want you to speak up, use your intelligence, your experience to share what you know to help influence and add value. But when someone makes a comment that's off-putting, then you shut down. That happened to me. I shut down. And every time I would see that leader in the future, I wasn't myself. I couldn't contribute the way I was in the past. I could feel myself shutting down. I had to look for opportunity elsewhere in both cases because that was the only way I was going to be able to cope and get rid of this essence of this emotional tax. So I am here to help you because I have seen it and been through it all. First of all, we are all leaders. We may have employees who are working for us that you can tell there's something going on. And if you are an employee, here's some suggestions for you to provide to your leader in case he or she may not recognize this essence of emotional tax in someone else in the team. First, check in. Always see how employees are doing, especially when they have been behaving in a certain way and then suddenly something changes. Maybe they are calling in sick or coming in late or going home early. They're not feeling well. Their work product isn't as at the same quality as it had been in the past. That means something is going on because all of us want to do well. We want to be stimulated and motivated by the work. If there is something else going on that's prohibiting us, then it's very recognizable. The problem sometimes is that the leader doesn't know how to address it. That's where relationships come in. You really have to know your team and be able to approach them and talk to them about what may be going on. Okay. That goes along with this, strong relationships. And just going back to the first comment about checking in, there's so much going on in people's lives, not just at work, family, maybe, again, you're the solo income earner, maybe you're taking care of children, maybe you're taking care of your parents or some other family member. There's so much going on. And even though it may not be work related, this emotional tax, that tax still exists. Review the policies in the employee manual as it pertains to what employees' benefits are. Is there a place where they're offering, as part of your medical benefit plan, services? Understanding also that this return to work policy, and again, I think we're all at a point right now where companies have decided either you're on-site, off-site, or hybrid, and we've all landed on what that is. Okay. And even in that space, when people are not seen because they're working remotely, you still need to check on them. We still need to understand that COVID has changed everything. People may still be dealing with situations that arose from that time frame. They we went home. We had to adjust our lives. Some people are not able to adjust their lives back. We have to be flexible. What are these written rules and policies pertaining to hybrid work? And be flexible as a leader. If a person is still going through something or they're managing an environment at home that may require them to have a different schedule, talk about it. See what you can do to help them. The other piece here, mental health resources. Sometimes, of course, as I mentioned, only 25% of Black people seek out the help that they need. And sometimes, again, they're embarrassed. They don't want to ask. They don't want to seem as if there's something wrong because we bring this persona to work where we are invincible. Nothing can, stop us. But a lot of times there's things going on and they may not want to ask for help. But still always let everyone know what's being provided in the medical plan, where else they may be able to get some assistance. There may even be other activities that people can get involved in that will allow them to be in new environments, have energy, be with people of like-mindedness, and start to shift and divert their attention from the areas causing them this stress and put them in environments where they're excited, they're having fun, they're doing something different. And lastly, provide support through mentorship and sponsorship programs. And those two are not the same. I always say to people, you think of mentorship where someone is preparing you for whatever your next is going to be. What the sponsor does is opens the door for you to walk in to that next opportunity. So it's really about the preparation and the accessibility. And we need both, especially as Black employees. They may not have a lot of visibility to that upper leadership. If they are connected, now they have someone to advocate for them, someone who knows all about them, can have a conversation with a different leader about where that person may fit into the organization. There's lots of benefits from the sponsorship piece. And mentorship always, you want to be able, especially inside an organization, culturally, know how everything works. And it's not about assimilating to what's going on. It's just being cognizant of how everything comes together in an organization. And that's how people are successful. Now, what the leaders can do for their employees is great, but we all ourselves have to ensure that we understand and manage our own mental wellness. And we do that, first of all, by focusing on what we can control. We cannot control what other people say, think, or do. We can only control what we say, think, and do. I always tell myself when something is brewing in my mind, I have to wait 24 hours before I respond. If it's an email or a voicemail or something else where I don't have to respond right away, I take 24 hours to regroup about what exactly happened and then decide what I'm going to do next. Next is self-awareness and boundaries. And that really is about knowing yourself, knowing which person or persons trigger that headache, trigger that twitch you may have in your eye, trigger that nervousness in your stomach. And it isn't about trying to avoid it, but it is recognizing when it happens and being able to say, how am I going to overcome this? What might I need to be doing differently so that when I am in that meeting, talking to that leader or engaging with this team, that I can manage my feelings and still operate in a sense of excellence and get the job done. And the other piece is self-care. And I love when people think self-care is going to the gym, exercising, getting our nails done. No, there's more to it than that. It's about taking the time to stop and not think. I know that's challenging because, again, we are all overachievers and there's constantly something going on that we're thinking that we need to do, forgot to do, would love to do, will never do, and our brain never stops. But we have to slow down and really think about our life and what's going on. Because with this emotional tax and the stress and what comes along with, we didn't even get to the things pertaining to heart problems, all types of problems physically, that all comes to being. And if you're not here, then what? So we really need to think about 100% care of everything from top to bottom. Advocating for yourself. Again, stepping back and saying, sometimes we need to speak up on what we're hearing, what we're seeing. If we are seeing something that we don't think is right, we have to speak on it. Whether you talk to HR, human resources, or sometimes they have an 800 number that's anonymous for employees to use, but be able to have a conversation. And if you get to the point where you're not seeing any change and you're starting to feel worse, it's time for a change. And we have to be brave enough to walk away. We are saving ourselves. Often we're saying, well, I can't leave. The money is good. I got to take care of my family or this or that. But guess what? If you're not there, you can't take care of them. If you're in the hospital, you can't take care of them. So think about yourself first. And guess what? The job, if you leave, they find somebody else to do it. And sometimes they need to find two people to do what you were doing all by yourself. So we never ever think that the company will not survive without you. They will go right on without you. You need to think about and advocate for yourself first. And last is seek external support. If you're not comfortable reaching into the organization and seeing what benefit plans are available to you and what resources come with that, there's another one of many great organizations called NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness. They are a nonprofit organization. They are actually a grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. Okay? So go to that site, see where there is a facility near you, and go check it out. Look for support groups, whether they are on Facebook or some other social media or even in your neighborhood. There's lots of people who are coming together to support each other. A lot of times it is just being able to speak and share what's going on, and that frees you. And interestingly enough, a lot of times we feel better talking to strangers than we do to our own family, because strangers don't judge. Family might. Family might say, are you sure? And even sometimes your peers or coworkers say that too. But remember, whatever you're thinking or feeling is true. Don't let anyone minimize that. So how am I working to empower, especially women in the corporate workplace, as we are all experiencing these elements of emotional tax? First of all, I have the Corporate Sisters Network. It is a Facebook group. And there I am working to empower women in this arena of sisterhood, of sharing. I do a 5-day challenge every month where I'm sharing one element of I'll say a barrier or a challenge that I see women going through in the corporate environment. Anything from confidence, networking, how to use assertive language, being able to balance thinking and feeling. That's, we're in that space and it's very difficult sometimes to make decisions. So as we are sharing and learning, that is helping women be able to overcome some of these challenges that may be causing them this essence of emotional tax. If you go to Facebook and do a search on Corporate Sisters Network, you'll be able to join us. Love to have you. The second I have on my website, www.eac-appeal, that's two A's, two P's, EAL.com. I have a free resource called The Secrets to Elevate Your Value. It is a checklist based on my framework of 3 areas: set up, show up, and step up. When we are thinking about change, when we're thinking about how to elevate ourselves, whether it's in our personal lives or our professional lives, these are the 3 major areas that will allow us to move from where we are to where we want to go. And it's set on these 3 questions. Are you set up to not be limited by the past? The second, when you show up, are you equipped to do and be your best every day? And are you prepared for the future when you are asked to step up? Underneath each one of these questions, there are several suggestions I provide to you as tools for you to be able to elevate your value. This will allow you to have a fulfilling life, be able to overcome or avoid or remove yourself from having this essence of emotional tax, and you'll thrive, you'll be excited, and that's why I am sharing this with you today. I appreciate you joining me in my presentation pertaining to emotional tax. I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter. Thank you so much. I will see you soon.